And so my second question would be about the skill of writing. And what do you think the most salient scenario you read in the...
I would say there are two aspects. The first one is aesthetic. Reading his novel is as if I were the cameraman on the character's shoulder as the story goes, and how it smoothly transacts to another scene from, for example, Kun Chu's wife. The wonderful switch between two different characters and with their own monologues makes me feel like reading the novel is as if watching a movie.
君秋啊，你看你这穿什么鬼模样？人无生人，鬼无生鬼，你哪会变做安尼来？
大伯啊，早就无该当叫你大伯啊，大伯啊，配大伯啊咧！
你安尼打扮，像是你的大伯？
大伯，你听我讲，
阁有啥物人讲啊？你无其他的石头用做吗？我都毋相信，敢做牛，阁惊无犁人拖。我话甲你拼头前，你若要写死前，去别个庄头，莫伫咧遮挖人的地头。你无听话，到时阵莫讲我这个大伯变面无认人。
啊，我伫四界找头路啊！
安怎？啊，四界找，就找到这个无出头的石头。
就是无度要甲伊借一款米也借无。
安怎？迄我应该？迄我应该吗？我嘛无假的米嘛，我的米拢蓝山鼎。安怎？啊，这甲你的石头有啥物关系？你少废话啊！
废话，俺两个废话，气死人！大伯啊，大伯有干啊？啊，你莫管，莫管！
情生好，你这个情生，你敢甲我误解？从今以后，我就毋是你昆秋的大伯，切断！
啊，断咯啊！我迄种大伯，颠倒伊有事。
大家好，今天是我们台湾文学公营役的第一集。每一集，廖老师以及我 Frank 老师都会选出一篇我们认为具备语言教育以及美学教育价值的台湾文学作品来与大家分享。预定的作品介绍有赖和的一根秤仔、龙吟中的只有木瓜树的小镇、杨奎的宋抱夫、王文兴的欠缺以及黄春明的孩子的大玩偶。这些作品在我们两位老师求学时带来了不少的精神鼓舞，也大大的帮助了我们两位老师在逻辑以及语言表达能力的塑造。所以我们希望这个节目也可以帮助同学们得到同样的注意。这个节目的发想是希望能以英语为语言载具来探讨本土文学，将我们对于文学的热爱透过一种新鲜有趣的方式传递给小朋友们。我们也希望同学在聆听的过程当中能加深和加广自己对于中文以及英文的掌握。今天我就先以黄春明先生所写的《孩子的大玩偶》中，主角坤树以及他的大伯对于坤树的工作的鄙视，两人所因此产生的冲突，作为我们这一集的分享素材。I would say the first reason for me to pick this particular scene in this novel is quite private, because honestly, it resonates with my own impoverished background. But it is not just a self-pity sentiment that makes this novel relevant to me. I mean, it is also because that reading it means revisiting to a time when I felt ashamed of a kind of helplessness that I couldn't fully understand then. And now, after all these years, reading it has given me a better understanding of the nature of that helplessness. And although the traumatic impact the helplessness gave me is irrevocable, but trying to dissect the piece is therapeutic, and that is my first motive to try to introduce this novel to my students. My second motive is related to my profession, a teacher, because in my opinion, this novel contains plentiful layers that tell the beauty of humanity, which unfortunately becomes something so unappreciated nowadays that to an extent, they almost become abandoned in the mainstream. I mean, academic training and achievement seem to outweigh some of the finest qualities in education, like love, compassion, morality, or courage to face the obstacles. And these qualities were supposed to make our children whole and capable of empathizing others' pain and misfortune. And so, through the introduction, I hope that my students get to learn that the scale of meritocracy should not be the only guideline in their life. Last but not least, by reading this novel, I hope the readers will get encouraged by this little man's effort and have their audacity to defy any toxic ideology that tell them to stop chasing their dreams. And in spite of the difficulties that we all might have in our life, I still hope that, like Kunchu, we will have the same resilience to make a firm stand, to confront prejudice, to protect what or who we cherish dearly. In this novel, in his case, his unborn baby, his wife, and himself.
It's good to hear that you mentioned not to limit our own life under the pursuit of meritocracy, which is a common tyranny, if we like to admit it. And so, in the short story, the poverty itself, it drew humiliation as well as dignity. And you said that you have a strong resonance with the scenario. So how would you encourage your student if they share a similar situation or experience with you or with Kunchu to get their own face to their situation? Which, I mean that, is there anything which is not so easily cultivated with a translating early life?
Well, as to me, I think I have always been, or at least I try to be a straightforward man or straightforward teacher. So my approach will be easy. I will use example. The easiest accessible reference I can draw is from my own poverty in the past to them. So in the class, I will use some of the stories, some sad story happened to me in my childhood to try to enlighten them, to give them some hint about how I overcome my fear or the humiliation brought by poverty. Then to them, try to use a narrative approach and use your own experience in the past would be my most successful strategy insofar in my class to encourage my students, especially to those who are underachieved. Namely, that they can gain successful achievement
Like others,
like the average. But at the same time, I think I would add something like, try not to break through your limit. Try to approach your limit. Try to pursue the ideal, but do not believe that you can break through. Because I think sometimes if you exaggerate things too much, it might twist your personality.
become a sort of pressure.
Yeah,
Because I think that too much unnecessary pressure will twist a man's character too much. And that is the least thing I want my students to sacrifice in order to gain what they want.
The final question is still about writing. That it's enjoyable to read, or as an author's skill to depict such a multifaceted or sophisticated traits in those characters. And for me, it's quite similar to what we are, or you are teaching your students how to write, to depict their life. And as an English teacher, how would you recommend your students to develop such a skill of observation or sensitivity in their own daily life?
I would always want students to reach to things that are easily accessible around them, not chasing some high remote model in the past. For example, I would use games, I would use music as ready-made models. I would ask them how they feel about the lyric, and I would ask them to describe what they feel when they hear the song. Sad, angry, sarcastic, that kind of feeling. Or even I would use analogy, like I play Nintendo a lot. I would use some famous cartoon characters, because the cartoon characters have a fixed personality. When I refer to those characters, my students, most of them immediately understand what I want to say. And through that referencing, I think they will have an immediate and concrete picture of the kind of abstract trait I want to describe to them, such as maybe some hero from an animation. Oh, courageous, but his weakness is Lois Lane. Oh, immediately they recognize the character is Superman. Flawless, heroic, patriotic, but he will never hurt a human being. Even he has to hurt himself, he will never do that. So that personality will be a good practice for them to observe and tell me, what do you think about Superman? Or what do you think about the difference between Batman and Superman? And then they will start to argue. Batman will terrorize the criminals. But I think he shared the trait that he also will not hurt a human being.
各位朋友，大家好。那在今天这个节目的一开始呢，首先由我来介绍一些关于这个《儿子的大玩偶》这篇小说的一些背景的导读。那这个并不是一个非常严肃或者是严谨的介绍。如果你是第一次的去阅读小说，或者是接触到这个时空的文学，或者是接触到黄春明这个作家，那我们也许可以先从这些意象去切入，他到底试图去谈一个什么样的主题。那首先呢，这个小说是一个1969年的文学作品。不知道那个1969年对大家有什么样的意义？那我是大概在这个年份的大约30年后才出生。那虽然尽管我们可能很多人没有经历过这个时代，觉得很遥远，但是我们或多或少从比如说历史啊或文学的这些阅读的经验上，我们知道它是一个台湾社会各个方面都正在转型的一个年代。那它同时也是所谓的乡土文学论战的起点。什么意思呢？那我们就逐一从这个小说中的意象去讨论。那首先我们看到这个小说的主角昆秋的时候，我们会被他一个非常鲜明的形象所吸引。他是一个所谓的三明治人。那三明治人是什么呢？就是他在这个电影院小镇上的电影院打工，然后每天他背负着那个沉重的宣传海报的看板，然后穿着类似戏服的服装，然后去在街上，在人潮多的地方，有学生的地方，有火车上上下下的地方，然后去为这个电影当一个人形看板。那这个三明治人呢，sandwich man 也是一种可能的隐喻啊，就是说这个昆秋啊，同时他也是他在各个方面都很像三明治人，就是他在他的家庭， 和工作之间嘛，他处在他的上一代跟下一代之间，他的大伯跟他刚出生的儿子，那他同时也处在新时代跟旧时代，那处在这个外来文化跟本土文化的交际处，就是他身上的这个衣服呢，其实是类似19世纪的那种军官的制服。这个东西大家现在看起来会觉得很滑稽嘛，就是怎么会穿着这个我们熟悉的比喻，可能就是像大清帝国的补服在街上跑来跑去。所以大玩偶呢，就是其实这个小镇上的人是把它当成小丑的。这个三明治人其实很心酸啊，就是说当时为什么昆秋啊他必须去从事这样的职业？那事实上当时台湾有所谓的这个以农养工的政策嘛，就是以农业培养工业，这个农村的人口不断流出的状况之下呢，他们的前半生基本上从小时候耳濡目染是农业啊，但是现在这个国家没有要发展农业，要把他们这些人从乡下赶出来，然后赶到这个都会区，可是他身上偏偏又没有一个足以让他生存的技能，所以他只好就是做的这些免洗的工作。这是其中一个关于那个时代的贫穷，或者是这个小人物的卑微的背景。那第二个大家可以一起看的地方其实是关于这个昆秋啊他身上的这个看板。为什么呢？因为他的儿子看到他的父亲穿着这样的戏服的时候，其实是高兴的。那个儿童小孩子的眼光是很珍贵的，就是他心中没有什么职业的高低贵贱，那其实也不懂这个东西是滑稽的呢，还是正经的。他只认得这个父亲在这戏服之中是好看的，而且是仿佛是帅气的。那他脱下这套看板这套戏服，那反而不认得自己的爸爸本来是怎么样的人。所以这个东西同时是小说中在探讨了是怎样的一个社会会让这个孩子不认得自己的爸妈。那第三个这个我们可以去看见的点就是说其实至少在这篇小说里面小人物该得到的并不只是同情，他们还会体现这个人性尊严的一面。什么意思呢？像是昆秋他最后得到一个更好的机会嘛，他其实可以不做这个三明治人，他却怀念了这个工作，他却对这个工作很秀景因为如果不是这个工作，他也许本来就打算把小孩子拿掉了。那这个时候作者有写说他的妻子看他的时候眼光中多了一种尊敬，就是说我们还是会看到这个小人物身上非常光明的一面。这种光明的一面有时候反而不是在高高在上的人身上，而是在我们身边的人之中。这个是一个个人的一个分享。